This event is one fall with a 10-minute time limit. Your referee, Jimmy McGuire. Introducing from Winnipeg, Canada, weighing 244 pounds, Ron Ritchie. His opponent from Atlanta, Georgia, weighing 260 pounds, Paul Orndorff.
Paul Orndorff, you may not have seen it during the introduction. A young fan handed his program up into the ring to Paul Orndorff for an autograph, and what did Paul do? He tore it in half.
The change that's come over Paul Orndorff in the last couple of months is phenomenal. Here's a man who is one of the most respected and popular scientific wrestling.
It looks like Paul Orndorff wants a piece of a fan who was challenging him from afar. He said, hey, come on up, let's have at it. And the fan backed down. That's a good forearm, another good forearm.
The tremendous physique of this man, Ron Ritchie, is a well-proportioned and incredibly powerful athlete. But Paul Orndorff can match him muscle for muscle, and Orndorff has that vicious streak that just, Orndorff, that right hand out of the backfield that literally floored Ron. What?
Look at that! Ron Ritchie, 2. He gets a 2 count, and here comes Ritchie. He says, I've taken enough of this. He goes right after Paul Orndorff. And down goes Orndorff.
Ritchie, using his own body as a battering ram, slams into the left arm of Paul Orndorff. And this match means so much to Ron Ritchie against the former national heavyweight champion Paul Orndorff. If he could get a win over Paul Orndorff, this would propel him immediately into the forefront of the national rankings.
And no doubt about it, I have not seen Ron Ritchie this excited, this hyped up for a match. He was in his dressing room just pacing. He was just excited about the opportunity to wrestle a guy like Paul Orndorff.
He's got his opportunity now. Orndorff at the disadvantage as Ritchie moves to a reverse armbar. And Paul Orndorff, what a story behind this wrestler. Ritchie. This is the kind of maneuver that's made Ron Ritchie such a popular favorite around the Midwest. He's a tough young man. He can wrestle, but if you want to fight, Ron Ritchie can do that quite well as well.
And he is a counter mover, I guess what you'd call him, because he can counter a move by an opponent probably as well as anybody I've seen.
And Orndorff, again, has that all-around knowledge of the sport. He's chosen to abandon that of the... Ritchie, thrown into the ropes, catches Paul Orndorff with a body tackle. And again, that tremendous scientific ability of Paul Orndorff. A drop toe hold, floats right up on his man and chicken wings the arm. Why he does what he does inside the ring it's a mystery to me. It's his business, but possibly the money, the prestige, the titles may have got a little bit too much for him.
The pressure. A lot of times the pressure will force a wrestler into somewhat devious tactics, but Paul Orndorff just doesn't need it. Now he's using the lower ring rope for leverage. There you see it. Jimmy McGuire does not. Now he sees it, and he orders a break.
And a more outspoken wrestler you won't find than Paul Orndorff. He'll tell you in a heartbeat that he thinks that he is the man in professional wrestling, the all-around best in the sport. And although he's one of the greats, the best in the sport is a title usually reserved for the world's heavyweight wrestling champion.
You know, a little bit later on in the program, we're going to get a look at world champion Harley Race against Ted DiBiase, and Paul Orndorff quoted in an Atlanta newspaper just a couple of weeks ago when he found out about the title defense Harley Race against Ted DiBiase, and said, hey, that should be me.
Orndorff has had opportunities at the world's title before, and he's come very close. Now, prizing back that arm of Ron Ritchie, and Ron Ritchie has got to be in trouble at this point in the ring. Paul Orndorff, what a tremendous physique on this wrestler.
And there goes Ron Ritchie.
Ritchie thrown into the turnbuckles, dives out of the way, and Orndorff slams his own elbow in.
And again, Orndorff tossed back into that ring turnbuckle. And Ron Ritchie now starting to dish out some punishment.
Senior referee Jimmy McGuire closely checking the action. Ritchie pulling his man away from the corner. And what a match so far, Kevin.
This has been really...
2. Almost a count of 2.
One of the better matches for Ron Ritchie, and that he has been right in the middle of things. And now you can hear him screaming in agony as Paul Orndorff working on that left arm of Ron Ritchie. And now grinding in that knee. Look at that.
Orndorff will go that route. He's one of the most devious wrestlers now.
And again, Orndorff. Oh, he missed. Paul Orndorff missed.
Orndorff stunned. Ron Ritchie sets drop kick. He didn't catch him quite like he wanted him, I'm sure, but Orndorff was ready for that one.
Paul Orndorff, you give him just a little bit of an opening. One little mistake can lead to big, big trouble. Up goes Ron Ritchie. Down he comes.
The atomic drop. Paul Orndorff using that tremendous upper body strength, jamming the base of the spine into his point of his knee, and that'll stop a man in his tracks right away.
And Ron Ritchie really in trouble here. Paul Orndorff going after Ron Ritchie. This perhaps the toughest test ever in the career of Ron Ritchie. And Ritchie just tossed unceremoniously out of the ring. Paul Orndorff wants to go after Ron Ritchie.
Senior referee Jimmy McGuire trying to hold his man back. Orndorff poised on that. Drives the knee into Ron Ritchie's unprotected back on the floor.
He's going to body slam him. Look at that. He body slams Ron Ritchie on this arena floor. There is no canvas. It is simply a hardwood floor. And Ritchie is hurt. Ron Ritchie very, very slow in getting up. Paul Orndorff being warned by Jimmy McGuire.
And Orndorff, look at, Ritchie driven back into the fans. Orndorff pushing senior referee Jimmy McGuire. And this Paul Orndorff is like a raging bull trying to get at Ron Ritchie.
And I don't think Ritchie, he is stumbling towards our broadcast position. You see him directly behind us, trying to make his way back up into the ring. He thinks better of it.
The count is on. He's only got a count of 10 on the floor, and Paul Orndorff is crowding him, not giving him any room to get back in the ring, but Orndorff is stopping the count every time he goes to the ropes. Ritchie's getting a chance to regain his senses on the floor.
And really shrewd strategy by Ron Ritchie. He comes back with a fury. A couple of right hands to the face. Here comes Orndorff off those ropes, and another right.
And another. Ritchie starting to open up on Paul Orndorff, and what an explosive. Ritchie driving his elbow into the upper chest of Paul Orndorff. Orndorff stunned in the corner. Gets another turnbuckle to the forehead, and Ron Ritchie is ready to go.
Off the ropes. And a flying two-hander. Down goes Orndorff. That might be all. The count is 2. And Ron Ritchie not letting up the pressure.
A backbreaker on Paul Orndorff, and Ritchie's going to that second rope. This may be his body press. Ron Ritchie high into
but he took a double knee into the midsection.
Orndorff, the cagey ring veteran, brought those knees up, and Ron Ritchie fully outstretched. Orndorff.
You can't take anything for granted with Paul Orndorff.
He's vicious inside that ring. Orndorff could have had the pin, but he pulled Ron Ritchie up.
Going for that pile driver. He's airborne. Down he comes.
What a pile driver from Paul Orndorff, and Ron Ritchie. His eyes rolled back. 2, 3, and that's it.
A critical mistake by Ron Ritchie, and it cost him a possible victory. We will come back with more on All-Star Wrestling as you get a look at Paul Orndorff after this timeout.